President Donald Trump has yet to sign a promised executive order to investigate his claims of voter fraud. Really, it's a lie. But at a retreat of Republican members of Congress in Philadelphia yesterday, he doubled down on the lie that fraud did indeed occur during the presidential election and promised action.
We also need to keep the ballot box safe from illegal voting. And believe me, you take a look at what's registering, folks. They like to say, oh, Trump, Trump, Trump. Take a look at what's registering. We are going to protect the integrity of the ballot box, and we are going to defend the votes of the American citizens. So important.
So here's what's interesting. Donald Trump, in his interview with ABC News, talked about people who registered twice, like his daughter, Tiffany Trump, like his treasury pick, Steve Mnuchin, like his chief strategist, Steve Bannon, and now media outlets are reporting his press secretary, Sean Spicer, is registered in 2 states. He might want to start with his own cabinet. So here's the deal. We've heard lots of statements from this president during the campaign and since he got inaugurated that have been flat out not true. So here's the deal. Right here on TV One's News One Now, every time Donald Trump lies, we're going to focus on this. Because the reality is, the lies of Donald Trump do matter. What he is lying about when it comes to voter fraud is all the precursor to a massive voter suppression plan by Republicans nationwide. Joining us on the phone from Houston is Reverend Dr. William Barber, who is the president of the North Carolina State Conference of the NAACP. On the panel today, Raynard Jackson, president and CEO of Raynard Jackson and Associates, Republican strategist, Angela Peoples, co-director of Get Equal. We also have Cleo Monago, behavioral and cultural analyst. Plus, we have Amber Phillips, co-director of Black. Reverend Barber, I want to go with you. I talked about the lies, and the bottom line is this here. Many folks certainly believe that Republicans, we've seen this happen in your state of North Carolina. We've seen the discriminatory voter ID law in Texas declared unconstitutional. And we've seen in Wisconsin. We've seen this now where all of a sudden voter ID in Iowa is now coming up, in Michigan is coming up. We see all of these efforts. Do you believe Donald Trump's constant lie about voter fraud is all about putting in place massive voter suppression?
I do, and Roland, thank you this morning. I mean, the bottom line is, we learned this a long time ago, scratch a liar, find a thief. So what's happening is Donald Trump is telling the same lie that these extremist Republicans told in state houses. We heard it in North Carolina, the same lie. They say that, and then they use that to pass these laws that not just about voter ID, but to roll back same-day registration, early voting. The truth is that 22 states passed voter suppression laws since 2010. And in those 22 states, they represent 57% of African Americans, 234 electoral votes. The real game is they want us to focus on the lie so we don't focus on the thievery that has happened through voter suppression. That's what's going on. It's not just him. It started in these state houses. And Roland, it is an ugly lie, because what they should be focusing on is the truth, the court-proven truth about voter suppression. We should be focusing on fixing the Voting Rights Act. We should be focusing on his own party stopping the voter suppression that they've engaged in. And I say this, if a Republican can't acknowledge voter suppression, if his surrogate liars like Jeffrey Lord and Kelly Conway and others can't acknowledge court-proven voter suppression and can't say anything about fixing the Voting Rights Act, then just shut up. I mean, that's the bottom line.
We just saw it. You're in Houston, Texas. You're not far from Pasadena. I grew up very close there in the Clinton Park community in Houston. We just saw where they declared, DOJ declared that there in Pasadena, Texas, that was a concerted effort by officials there to suppress the votes of Latinos there. You also have these gerrymandered districts in Texas as well to guarantee Republican victories. What you have, and of course we saw in North Carolina, where a federal court ruled there was a laser-like focus to target black voters. I don't understand why Republicans, and look, and I specifically told Reince Priebus this, as well as Sean Spicer when I had lunch with him at the Republican National Committee a year and a half ago. Y'all are going to lose lose on this issue because it is a flat-out lie.
Exactly. And not only that, in North Carolina, the courts have also ruled that the districts, the racially driven gerrymandered districts, are apartheid districting. But again, that's what they do. The lie he's telling is a distraction. If you notice, he says, we want to protect the integrity of the vote. The same thing they said in North Carolina. They told this lie about people voting that weren't registered properly, or they were registered wrong, or dead people. They told it and told it. The media repeated, and then they used it to pass the worst voter suppression law in the country and to pass gerrymandering. All of these lies, last thing, Roland, started when Obama won in 2008. It wasn't even about him. It's about the electorate that elected him. And then all of a sudden, we got problems. We need photo ID. There's a problem with the electorate. It's one lie after another, and we have to call it what it is. And now the flip side of it is, however, this is the other problem. During the election, during this past election, we had all of those debates, not 1 hour focus on voter suppression. Democrats were weak on this. They didn't know how to talk about it. Republicans don't want to talk about it. We had 868 less voting sites in the black community during this election than we did in 2012. That's the most underreported story in the entire election.
Reverend Dr. William Barber, we surely appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, my brother. God bless.
All right, let's go to our panel. Raynard, why does Trump keep lying about this here? Well, why does he keep lying?
Well, number one, there's no such thing as voter suppression. And
yes, it is.
Folks on the left keep lying, and I love the terminology you all use, voter suppression, because you know that takes us back to a time when there was voter suppression in the early 60s.
Raynard, factual. Let me ask you this very factual question. Did the North Carolina GOP specifically ask for voting data to know when black folks voted early in North Carolina? Yes
Roland,
or no?
I've already said on your show, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Texas, I will concede those are willful attempts to keep the black vote down.
Is that called voter suppression?
No, that's not the legal definition. That's just being stupid politically.
No, that's called suppressing black votes.
No. Suppression legally is the willful attempt to prevent a group of people from going to the polls.
If North Carolina Republicans specifically asked for data when black folks voted early, and then the data came back showing 70% of African Americans voted during the first week of early voting, and then when they changed the rules to only allow 1 early voting site in each county, isn't that suppressing?
No, that's stupidity, but not suppression.
Okay, but here's the piece then. So fine, I can also go to Wisconsin where the voter ID law was approved, but they dragged their feet. A federal judge called them in during the election saying, why are y'all dragging y'all feet on also supplying the data? One second, hold up. Pennsylvania, they said we passed the voter ID law to combat voter fraud. When they got sued in federal court, they went into federal court. The Attorney General of Pennsylvania sent a document stating we have no evidence of voter fraud. Now, please tell me how you keep making the argument that there is voter fraud, yet when sued, you then come in and say we have no evidence of it. If you have evidence of it, you then would present it. Correct?
There's no question.
So why are they lying about voter fraud?
No, I can't get into why they're lying. I've always told you it was stupid for Republicans in those 3 states.
You can't get into it with North Carolina. You can't get into it with Pennsylvania. You can't get into it with Texas. They shut down driver's license offices there in Alabama. Now we also know the effect of that. You don't want to get into it in Wisconsin? So I'm just trying to understand.
Okay, explain this to me, Ro. You have been saying voter suppression and William Barber and all these liberals.
Okay, fine. Call it voter stupid.
Okay.
So, hold on. Fine. We're not going to call it voter suppression. Call it voter stupid.
Let me ask you this question.
Same thing.
How do you then say in 2012, Obama's last election, black folks, for the first time in the history of this country, outvoted white folks if there's voter suppression? It doesn't make sense. You can't have it both ways.
No, actually, I'm not going to help you with that, because here's the reality factually. North Carolina had, after 2008, its highest turnout ever. And then they begin to say, oh, no. We got to suppress this thing. 2012, what you've seen after 2010 midterms, you saw a massive number of Republican-led legislatures flipping the laws to change the laws in their states. So all I'm trying to understand is this here, Raynard, what circumstance, what cosmic thing happened where all of a sudden we saw this massive influx of new laws? the election of President Obama. Angela.
No.
I think that that's right. I think Reverend Barber's point is really important, that this is about not just the election of President Obama, but the demographic shifts in our countries. Because if you listen to Donald Trump talk about it, he says that part of the reason that he lost the popular vote by 3 million votes is because millions of people voted illegally or fraudulently. But actually, the truth is that millions of people don't agree with him. They don't want him to be president. So yes, he did win the Electoral College, but the population, the majority of the country, is not siding with Republicans, is not siding with Donald Trump. So they do need to suppress millions of votes from here on out if they're going to maintain control.
Cleo, suppression is this, Cleo. In Wisconsin, a city clerk there said that she was moving an early voting location off of a campus because too many of those students voted Democratic. What they've been doing is they've been moving early voting locations to far out locations where it's hard to get to and there's not much parking, as opposed to saying, no, let's make it easier. That is voter suppression. Cleo.
Well, that's clearly the elements of suppression, but what's fascinating to me, and this is, I think, on topic, is the term stupid. Because it's stupid with intent. It's not just generically stupid, and when you just call it stupid in response to what Roland is saying and just keep it on the term stupid, you act like it's just stupid. But there's intentionality behind this behavior in these decisions. And why is it so difficult for you to understand that this is not just generically stupid and there's an intention here to stop black people and other people from voting so Trump wouldn't, at that point, would lose?
Republicans know that they're not going to get the community, they're not going to change their policies or platforms to get more people of color to vote. So they have to vote for them.
The vote is clearly being suppressed because the point of our democracy is to have as many people voting as possible. And what we know right now, I think less than 10% of the American population even decided our presidential candidates. So any attempt to not increase the number of people who are casting a ballot to determine who is leading our country is an act of suppression.
So
we don't have enough people voting. We need to open our ballot even more than what it is now in order to have a democracy that is reflective of our country.
So, Radar, you always talked about the need for Republicans to compete for the black vote. They are not going to compete for the black vote as long as they are trying to suppress the black vote.
The point being, when you say suppress the black vote, that means you are providing physical barriers for the threat of intimidation, and none of those things are happening.
That's a lie. Reynard, that's a lie. Reynard, Reynard, are you trying to tell me that if you had 900 fewer early voting locations in 16 than you had in 12, you don't believe that removing a lot of those was that reason? You don't believe that?
That's not suppression.
Hold up, that is suppression.
It's not, Roland.
You don't believe that in Ohio, where they said we're going to have only one early voting location, Cuyahoga County, where Cleveland is, an entire county, Summit County, where Columbus is, you had massive numbers of people going to one voting location. You don't believe the intent there was to frustrate people, to have long lines?
No, they're trying to make it more difficult. I agree with
suppression.
you. That is not the legal definition of suppression.
Well, you know, you sound like Bill Clinton. What is. Bottom line, come on, dog.
No. Let me tell you this.
Come on, bro.
When I have clients of mine, entertainers and comedians performing somewhere, I'll leave friends of mine tickets at will call. You know what they ask for? A license, driver's license. If you don't have a driver's license, you can't get a ticket. So asking someone for an ID to vote,
Reynard. So you're going to defend the laws being passed by Republicans where they call for you to have a birth certificate where the seal is raised as opposed to what you already have? Are you trying to tell me the 100-year-old black woman who's denied the right? No. Hold up one second. Hold on. I'm sorry. So we can't. So hold on. So we just gonna wave off that sister who's been voting in elections and because they changed the law? Are you telling me the white folks in Wisconsin who were 80 and 90 who could not vote because they changed the law? And then you want to tell me, that's no big deal? Bro, come on.
No, get out of here, man.
Reynard, you are defending
and trying to extrapolate a whole trend.
No, actually it's not one. Because in Texas, the law said 600,000 people were discriminated against because of Texas's voter ID law. 600,000. Now, that's not one. So you telling me those 600,000 don't matter?
Listen, it's amazing.
Answer my question, Raynard. Do those 600,000 Texans matter?
And they should be able to register and vote.
Well, then tell me why Texas puts that law in place. Tell me why in Texas, when they were ordered to remove the wrong early voting signs in precincts, they still would not take those down. You please tell me why in all of these different states.
I'm not going to defend stupidity, but this notion of voter suppression is a myth that you liberals have created.
You're not going to defend it in Texas. You're not going to defend it in Alabama.
North Carolina.
You're not going to defend it in Pennsylvania. You're not going to defend it in North Carolina or Ohio or Wisconsin or every single state.
But just because they shut down or make it more difficult for you to go, that's not suppression.
Just say you're not invested in voting. That's it.
I got to go to a break. If you're going to keep playing this nonsense, I'm telling you right now, we're going to ride your behind every time on this. No, you've been consistent about making excuses by saying technically that's not voter suppression. Bruh, come on.
Kickstart your day at 7 and get the news you need from the perspective you want. News 1 Now with Roland Martin. Every weekday morning at 7 on TV 1.